Thank you, Robert.
Martin Scorsese. Listen to this list here. Ron Howard, Henry Kissinger, Uma Thurman were among his clients, and now financial advisor to the so-called stars, Kenneth Starr, is being charged with carrying out a $30 million fraud against some of his clients.
Adam Shapiro is live outside the federal courthouse in downtown Manhattan, and there was also once the golden boy of Manhattan politics, Andy Stein, who was caught in this swing as well, right?
Right. This is a net that's caught some very notable people. You were just talking about some of the Hollywood celebrities. Now, let's show some of those pictures of people who Ken Starr, not the famous Bill Clinton special investigator Ken Starr, but this is a financial advisor and tax attorney Ken Starr, who represented some 200 of Hollywood's best and brightest stars. Now, those stars are not said to have been victims of what the U.S. Attorney is charging Mr. Starr with today. Fox Business has actually identified some of the victims that the U.S. Attorney is talking about, and there could be more victims presented later on, as well as more charges coming down the pike. But let's go through first the victims that have been identified by Fox Business. Then we're going to get into a graphic to show you what Mr. Starr has allegedly done. One of the victims is a woman by the name of Rachel Lambert Mellon. She's the 100-year-old heiress to the Warner Lambert and Mellon fortunes. She's also tied to Oak Spring Farms, which is essentially the trust which manages her huge inheritance. There's also Jacob Arabo and Angela Arabo. A lot of people would know Jacob as Jacob the jeweler. The U.S. Attorney's Office has identified them as clients of Mr. Starr who have been harmed through this alleged fraud. What was the fraud? Very simply, taking money from those clients, those three clients, without their permission, and then using that money to pay off other clients. That would be a Ponzi scheme, similar to what Mr. Madoff was doing, and also using that money to buy Mr. Starr a $7.6 million condominium here in Manhattan. Take a look. We have a graphic that shows you the flow of money. And you'll see in the graphic that client 5 was lost about $5.75 million. That's Oak Spring Farms. That's the heiress, the Warner Lambert Mellon heiress. She is the woman who would be identified as client 5. Mr. Arabo and his wife, Mrs. Arabo, are not part of this part of the scheme. They lost, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office, $14 million, which has yet to be accounted for. Now, we have a statement from the lawyer who represents the heiress, Mrs. Mellon, and he said to us, this comes from Alexander Forger, who is the lawyer for Warner Mellon. He said, Mr. Starr was in charge of investments and monies. They were invested and transferred over the years. I am unaware that any fraud was committed. That lawyer for Oak Springs, for the Mellon heiress, Alexander Forger, also says to Fox Business he has been contacted by the U.S. Attorney's Office as well as the SEC. The SEC has moved today with its own charges against Mr. Starr and his entities. They're freezing his 23 bank accounts. They've also asked for an independent receiver to be appointed to begin the clawback process to recover monies for the alleged victims. Also named in this suit is Andrew Stein, the former mayoral candidate here in Manhattan, as well as a political figure here in New York City. He's not charged with fraud or money laundering. He's charged with lying to the IRS on his income tax forms in connection to his relationship with Mr. Starr. One last thing. In the complaint that was filed today in criminal court, there is allusion to 2 associates of Mr. Starr. They're not named, but one of them is identified as a notable figure in a national political party. I asked the U.S. Attorney if that person is cooperating, and if, since they were the beneficiary of some of the alleged frauds, perhaps, would monies from them be clawed back. The U.S. Attorney would not identify that nationally known political party figure, nor would the U.S. Attorney say if they're cooperating.
Juicy. Stay tuned for that. Interesting stuff. Thank you very much, Adam.